Once again, the who's who of the South African agriculture and farming communities are gathered here at Bothaville in the Northern Free State at Nampo 2024. While spirits are slightly subdued about a lower maize crop and lower grain crops across South Africa due to the El Nino weather phenomenon, there's much to be positive about, and the industry is very positive about growth for the next foreseeable 2 or 3 cycles, with weather patterns continuing to normalize over the next 2 to 3 years. I spoke to the heads of agribusiness at Absa about what kind of relationships are being fostered at gatherings like this, but also what it means for future thinking in farming and agriculture, and also for partnerships in the agriculture sector.
I think, first and foremost, it's important to realize that grains in South Africa represents about 30%, a third of the agricultural economy. So it does represent a big part of it. I think, apart from the obvious, coming to see technology at Nampo and having the ability to talk to experts and see how it fits into your business, there's also, some of the silent topics that will be covered here. I think on our minds is, climate, El Nino year. It was quite a difficult, grain year. So that's fairly important for us. And then I think, there's also the ESG components. There's inflation, interest rates. So there's a number of serious topics as well this year.
So why do you think it's important then to support an event like Nampo?
Gary, like I said, it is a big part of the agricultural economy that's represented here. But I also think this creates an opportunity to network, and I think, key success factor is, the ability to build networks and to use those networks. So I think it's a bit of a silent one, but I think it's very important. And then once again, back to the ability to engage with experts here in one place.
A big theme of agriculture around the world is technology, and one of the themes here is agri in the digital era. What role do you think is technology playing, and how are you seeing it from a financial services perspective, the role that technology is now starting to play in agriculture?
Gary, so I think if one just take a step back and you look at food production versus population growth, you can clearly see that somewhere along the line the world would have run out of options. But I think technology is the one play that keeps us, in the business. So it's really driving those efficiencies and effectiveness. You also get different type of technologies. You get biotechnology, which is relating to the seeds and the inputs. You get equipment technology, specifically if you think around some of the John Deere, tractors and what ability that they can do. And then I think, artificial intelligence are becoming quite an important part. There's others, remote sensing being one of them, platform industries, which all works around, becoming more effective, either reducing cost or increasing, returns.
You also mentioned ESG, so environmental, social and governance factors in decision making in agriculture and farming. How do you ensure that remains part of not only your decision making, but also in contributing to the sector as a whole?
Yeah, Gary, so it is a fairly new topic, and it is gaining quite a bit of momentum at the moment. I think one of the things that we're doing is we are doing an agri trends report, twice a year. That takes a little bit of a longer view around certain of these commodities, but it also then, discusses some of these topics, as thought leadership, but then also how to. So I do think, it is fairly important at the moment that, producers are abreast and stay, up to date with what's coming. There's a lot of things that's required. One is reporting, we're trying to help that. We also link with third parties to see how we can develop products, to try and sort for this. Then I think on the governance part, we as a bank are actively participating with inputs, into some of the legislation and policy that's proposed, and sometimes we even go and defend some of that in Parliament. And the social piece, very important for agriculture. land rights, and all of that. So it's important that you also have plans, for your existing clients, but also for new entrants.
A theme like you're all raising at Nampo 2024 is Your Story Matters. How is that coming together for you and your clients here at Nampo 2024?
Yes, Gary, so that is the new tagline that Absa launched this year in terms of our general branding. I think it's very applicable in agri because agri's story matters in South Africa. Not only are we a large employer, employing north of 800,000 people in agri, the industry earns a substantial amount of foreign exchange. We're also the lifeblood of rural communities, and then obviously the most important is that it provides food security for South Africa as a whole.
Now, one of the main themes that you would be looking at as an agri-economist and researching into that field is climate and weather patterns. What is your sense here at Nampo 2024 of what participants are saying about those impacts?
Yes, look, we're coming out of a difficult season. So I think February and March were extremely dry, extremely hot. And so we're seeing about a 20% drop in the maize crop compared to last year. So I think the sentiments are a little subdued. Prices did respond to that drop in production. Although since the start of May, we've seen prices coming down on the back of a weaker exchange rate. So all those factors are likely to weigh on producers' sentiments. I think the good news in terms of climate is that we are expecting a La Nina event for the 2024-25 season, which will likely support production back to levels that we saw in 2022 and even 2021, where we had quite a substantial crop in each of those seasons.
And what is an institution like AgriBusiness, what do they do to try and help customers during these times when obviously high interest rates would be pressing, etc.? Is there a special way of dealing with this issue?
So Absa is the largest agricultural financier in South Africa, and I think because of that we pride ourselves on understanding the industry and really having a feel for the cyclical movements and adverse events that could happen. So our view is to finance through the cycle and to take into account weather-related events or climatic conditions that affected a producer. I think the key thing to keep in mind there is that the relationship with your bank matters, and rather contact your bank sooner than later and express concerns or pressing issues that you might have, because the essence is that the sooner we get our teeth into the problem, the sooner we can facilitate and help a producer that is under pressure.
So notwithstanding current pressures, some industries are really poised for growth, particularly in terms of global trends. Which kinds of customers are positioned quite well to take advantage of some of these, and can you give us an example of where some of these opportunities are?
So I think we're coming out of seasons that were really difficult for key export industries such as citrus and avos, and we've really seen the tides turning in 2023 for those. So the latest or the most current news event out of these industries is that we've opened the markets for avos into India, which is really a huge opportunity. I think given that we've also opened China and Japan last year, we now have access to an additional 2.8 billion people that could potentially consume avos, and I think that's a great success story. If you think about issues in global shipping, that has opened a lot of opportunities for industries such as citrus. So there, the Far East is underserviced by usual suppliers such as Egypt because of the turbulences in the Red Sea. And so that has opened great market opportunities for our early citrus producers into the Far East. And I think those are just two examples of industries that are set up for growth and good performance during 2024.
And finally, from your research, where does food inflation sit? It is some concern that in South Africa people are paying high prices for food and cost of food production is going up. What are some of the latest trends?
So I think we've really felt the pressure over the last couple of years since COVID. Grocery baskets have doubled in costs. I think the good news there is that we'll probably see prices losing momentum, but not necessarily showing deflation. So the story around grains, we've seen out of the drought that prices really increased. If you compare it to what happened last year and the year before, the increase isn't that substantial because we also had issues related to the war in the Ukraine, droughts in other key production regions around the globe. So year on year dynamics, we haven't seen that much of a jump, and prices are turning down. So from a commodity price perspective, we could see key staples such as maize and bread losing some pace. So our view is definitely a more subdued inflation trajectory compared to what we saw in previous years, but not really scope for large downward movements simply because of production costs keeping a floor or a limit to those prices.
That's it for this segment of Nampo 2024 coverage from Nampo 2024 at Bothaville in the Northern Free State. Stay tuned for more programming on business, markets and agriculture from time to time, right here on Business Day TV.
Ooh.